a federal appeals court has upheld the law that could ban TikTok come January 19th, 2025. However, there are two different ways the app could be saved. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about TikTok potentially being banned on January 19th, 2025. Now, this has been a long fight. A lot of back and forth, a lot of legal challenges, everything's been going on. Now, there was a federal appeals court case on this, and the original law that forces TikTok to be sold or banned has been upheld. Now, what does that mean? Well, TikTok is owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance. The law states that TikTok, at least the U.S. operations, must be sold to a U.S. company and or a non-Chinese company. If they can't do that, then they're going to be banned. If they can do that, then they can stay. Now, here is another way they could save the app. Let me just show you an article right quick, and we're going to get to a video and everything else. All of this will be in the box. Now, can Donald Trump save TikTok? Because let's remember, there's some timelines, very interesting timeline. TikTok could be banned on January 19th, 2025, but January 20th is when Donald Trump takes over as president of USA after Joe Biden and Kamala are out. So what he could do on January 20th is be like, hey, you know what? TikTok is here, it's going to be saved, and everything's fine. You see the subhead here. Video app owned by China's ByteDance is hoping for a lifeline to avoid being sold or shut down in the U.S. Now, we're not going to read the entire article, but I'll link to it in the box. Basically, what this says is Trump could ask Congress to repeal the law, which could happen because we have the House and the Senate and the presidency. So if Trump wants to do something and he has support from the Republicans, it can be done. Also, he could ask the incoming attorney general, I think that'd be Pam Bondi, to not enforce the law. Now, Trump at one point wanted to ban TikTok, but he has since done a 180 talking about, hey, we don't want to just remove competition because that's going to just embolden Meta, which obviously is the owner of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc. And that will be what happens. If they were to ban TikTok, all you're going to do is empower Instagram, really, number one. YouTube, you're going to empower all the other social media apps. Snapchat, another one, you're going to empower them, and you're going to create less competition, you're going to have more of a monopoly type of space. Also, there's a reason beyond they want to steal your data and all this and that, why they want to ban TikTok. We'll get to that in a minute. But first things first, let's get to a news clip on the whole situation. Of course, again, everything will be in the box. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
In the meantime, I do actually want to take you to some breaking news that we are following right now at this hour. Now, a lot of this information here just coming into our newsroom. This all involves TikTok and a story that we have been following on Live Now from Fox for quite a while. A federal appeals court panel now upholding a law that could lead to a ban on TikTok in a few short months, handing a resounding defeat to the popular social media platform as it fights for survival in the U.S.
Not a few short months. It'll be next month, January 19th, 2025. We're already in December. So in a little over 30 days, that could happen.
The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ruled that the law, which requires TikTok to break ties with its China-based parent company ByteDance or be banned by mid-January, is constitutional. That is rebuffing TikTok's challenge that the statute ran afoul of the First Amendment and unfairly targeted the platform.
Quote, now, that was a big argument from those who are on the side of TikTok and those who support Constitution. It's like, hey, you're going to ban us because why? You're violating our free speech. And the thought process is, well, if they can just ban TikTok for any kind of arbitrary reason, they could ban any other app as well. They could ban your app, my app, whatever it is. But I think it's a lot more complicated. This is really a matter of national security. I'll get to that in a minute.
The First Amendment exists to protect free speech in the U.S. That is according to the court's opinion. They added, quote, here the government acted solely to protect that freedom from a foreign adversary nation and to limit that adversary's ability to gather data on people in the United States.
Pause. Now, the data gathering part is a big issue, of course, because, okay, you're on TikTok, you're scrolling, it knows your habits and things you shop for, things you look at. It can send all that data, which it does from what I'm able to understand. They can send it right back to China, and they can use that to do other things to Americans that we don't really realize. They can use that as a weapon against us at any point in time. It's a dangerous thing. That's why they want to ban it, because they can't control it. Remember the whole thing with Hunter Biden's laptop? 51 intelligence officers said that it was Russian misinformation. And if you posted that on any social media platform, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, not only would that post be deleted, but you might be deleted off the platform. You might be banned from the platform for posting that. Now, do you think TikTok would bend to the pressures of the U.S. government, considering that they're not a U.S. company? They are over in China. They do whatever they want to do for the most part. So this is the reason, in my opinion, why they want it banned, because they can't control it. And if they can remove it from Chinese influence and sell it to a U.S. company, then it's okay because they can control it. You see, that's the whole thing here. But let's continue.
TikTok and ByteDance, another plaintiff in the lawsuit, expected to appeal to the Supreme Court. In the meantime, President-elect Donald Trump, who tried to ban TikTok during his first term and whose Justice Department would have to enforce the law, said during the presidential campaign that he is now against a TikTok ban and would work to, quote unquote, save the social media platform. The law signed by President Biden back in April culminated a years-long saga in Washington over the short-term video sharing app, which the government sees as a national security threat due to its connections to China. The U.S. has said it's concerned about TikTok collecting vast swaths of user data, including sensitive information on viewing habits that could fall into the hands of the Chinese government through coercion.
Now, let's pause. The Chinese government will have the data. Ain't no coercion. They're going to have the data, because any company in China, you're going to be open to the Chinese government and whatever they want. It'll be a guy from the Chinese government or some guys from the government on the board of ByteDance. That's just what it is over there. Now, I don't like how the U.S. government tries to be all righteous and holy about that, because they also gather data on us. They also spy on us. They do all the things that they say China does. But the way the U.S. government looks at it is, we're benevolent and we're here for the citizenry, while China is not. China is potentially an enemy combatant, and they could use TikTok as a weapon against us. And the government says they won't use social media here as a weapon against us, but they will use it to censor information, hide information, like 10 for the big guy, crack smoking president's son. They will do that, but I digress.
Officials have also warned the proprietary algorithm that fuels what users can see on the app is fairly vulnerable to manipulation by Chinese authorities, who can use it to shape content on the platform in a way that is difficult to detect. However, a significant portion of the government's information in the case has been redacted and hidden from the public, as well as from those two companies. TikTok, which sued the government over the law in May, so a month later, has long denied it could be used by Beijing to spy or manipulate on Americans. Its attorneys have accurately pointed out that the U.S. has not provided evidence to show that the company handed over user data to the Chinese government or manipulated content for Beijing's benefit in the U.S. They have also argued the law is predicated on future risks, which the Department of Justice has emphasized, pointing in part to unspecified action that it claims the two companies have taken in the past due to demands from the Chinese government. Friday's ruling came after the appeals court panel heard oral arguments back in September. Some legal experts said at the time that it was challenging to read the tea leaves on how the judges were going to rule. Now, again, the federal appeals court panel upholding a law that could lead to a ban on TikTok in just a few short months in the U.S., handing a defeat to the popular social media platform as it fights for survival in the U.S.
All right, so there we have it. TikTok could be banned come January 19th, 2025. But I think ultimately it'll be saved 0 hour by President Trump. And you know, the funny part, as I close, he'll probably be seen as a hero for this by a lot of people, because people depend on TikTok. A lot of businesses are operated there, not just those who want to be scrolling and whatnot, but legitimate businesses, social media personalities, brick and mortar locations. They really depend on TikTok for their survival. But I think what's going to end up happening is we get a little bit more clarity on China and what they're doing. Look, here's what I think should be what happens. Social media platforms, we got to understand what they do with their algorithm. We got to understand what they do as far as feeding you information. And you can't just rely on social media and what they want to show you for your information. You still got to go outside of that. That's the thing. I think we need to just not be so heavily dependent upon these things. Unfortunately, a lot of us are. I know people, grown adults, that only get news from TikTok and nowhere else. No reading online articles, no reading news or nothing, just TikTok. So whatever they say on TikTok, they're going to believe. That's why there's a big issue about banning it or having it sold away from the Chinese, because if you have millions upon millions of Americans watching that and believing whatever's on there, China could just put out a propaganda campaign and then instantly, boom, everybody believes it. And one more thing I got to add before I wrap it on up and put the bow on top. Do you know that TikTok, which is a Chinese app, again, do you know that TikTok is banned in China? Oh, yeah. They have another version of TikTok called Douyin, but Douyin is not TikTok. The same content we see on TikTok, they don't see on their app. Now, of course, they could do a VPN and all this and that, but their TikTok is not our TikTok. Okay, so that tells you that there's a particular issue with the content on there, and that's part of the reason why they want it banned. But the chief reason is they can't control it here in the USA the same way that China can control TikTok, Douyin, whatever over in China. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about TikTok being sold, being banned, being saved? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think that it's going to be saved by Trump. He said that he wants to save it. He did a 180 on wanting to ban it. So I think he will save it. They're not going to enforce the law. I think TikTok is here to stay. Now, if it goes away, what's going to happen is you're going to see a big increase. Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Facebook, all the other apps are going to get a big boost. So this does very well for American social media companies, not so much for the Chinese. And also, one more thing I could say, this could be part of a trade war because, okay, you want to ban TikTok, our cash cow in America? Well, we're going to ban Apple. So we got all these factories. Who's making your phones now? It could get real ugly. I think that it'll be saved before any of that stuff will happen. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.